Welcome to Study Loop.
This is a very long question, so buckle up. We are given that during the process AC, the work done was minus 35 joules, and the heat given to the system was minus 63 joules. So, using this, we can see that the change in internal energy from going to A to C is Q minus W using the first law of thermodynamics. So that turns out to be minus 63 minus 35. So that's minus 28 joules. Now that we have this information, let's start going through the problems. So before we go ahead, also remember that delta EAC is minus delta ECA. And also that the internal energy only depends on this initial and final states of the system. So delta EAC does not depend on what process it took, what process took the system from A to C. For part A, we want to find out QABC. Also remember that we are given an extra piece of information. The work done during the process ABC is minus 54 joules. We want to find QABC. But notice that in the process BC, the volume remains constant, which means work done is 0 because work is integral P dV, and if dV is 0, work done will be 0, which means work done during ABC is simply work done during the process AB, and that will be minus 54 joules. So using this, we can see that delta E ABC is equal to QABC minus WABC, and hence QABC is delta EABC. But notice that delta EABC would simply be delta EAC. The change in kinetic energy only depends on the initial and the final states. It does not depend on anything in between. So B is irrelevant. Plus WABC, and we already saw that WABC is simply WAB. If you remember, delta EAC is minus 28 joules plus WAB is minus 54 joules, giving us minus 82 joules. This is QABC. For part B, we are given PC is equal to half PV. And we want to find out the work done during the path CDA. So if you look at the diagram again, during the path D to A, the volume remains constant, so the work done there is 0, which means work done during CDA is simply the work done during CD. And that is P delta V. So that's during this process, notice that the pressure is constant, which means the pressure is simply PC or PD, which are the same, and VD minus VC, the final volume minus the initial volume. But also notice that VD is equal to VA and VC is equal to VB. Also notice that PC is half PB, so that's PB times VD minus VC can be written as VA minus VB. If you notice, this is the work done during this process, work done during process AB, half WAB, which is, as we saw, half WABC. If you remember, we saw that WABC was equal to WAB, and that was equal to minus 54 joules, so that's 27 joules. But there is one caveat though. This is actually yeah, VA minus VB would be the work done during this process. This would be work done during BA, so there should be a minus sign here, minus sign, and the minus signs cancel out, giving us 27 joules. For part C, we want to find out QCDA. Now this must be simple. QCDA is simply ECDA plus WCDA. And we already saw delta ECDA is simply delta ECA plus, we know that WCDA is 27 joules, and we know that delta ECA from here is 28 joules. So that 28 joules plus 27 joules, which is 55 joules. For part D, we want to find out the internal energy at A minus internal energy at C. Now this is equal to the change in internal energy during the process going from C to A, which we already found out is 28 joules. Now that we have this, for part E, we want to find out ED minus EC. Now this is where it gets, I'm sorry, we are given ED minus EC is 12 joules. We are to find out QDA. Now this is where it gets a little weird. ED minus EC is simply delta E CD. Now we want to find out the QDA. So for that, we want to find delta EDA. Now that is delta ECA minus delta EDC. So that's, if you remember from before, delta ECA was 28 joules minus delta E this is delta E CD. So that is 12 joules, giving us 16 joules. From this, delta E dA is equal to, using first law of thermodynamics, QdA minus WdA, which means that QdA is simply delta EdA plus WdA. Delta EdA is 16 joules, and the work done during dA is obviously 0, because if you remember, the volume does not change during the process dA, which means it is equal to Now, if you are still not convinced about this part, let's look at it again. Delta EdA would be the system going from system D, like state D to state A. So this would be delta ED, EA minus ED. Now we can add and subtract EC, which would give us EA minus EC plus EC minus ED. If you notice, EA minus EC is simply delta ECA, and EC minus ED is delta EDC, and plus delta EDC is minus delta ECD. So if you use delta DC here, you simply put a plus sign, but because we have a minus sign, we use delta ECD. That is it.